So whilst we're laying the groundwork, let's have a delve into PCOS because it can be a hugely frustrating and challenging situation to find yourself in, where you're having these irregular menstrual cycles, you've got difficulty predicting your ovulation before you even start with the other stresses of trying to conceive. It just makes conception hugely challenging. And one of the things that underlies PCOS is an increased risk of insulin resistance and potentially weight gain. And then what happens is that when you have all of this going on, that then exacerbates further the symptoms of the PCOS. So you've got these two things kind of feeding each other. And then what that does, obviously, at that point is further reduces your chances of natural fertility. So restoring natural and regular ovulation within a nice kind of cycle framework can significantly increase the chances of conception and also improve your natural reproductive health. Because if we are managing your insulin levels, you'll also find that your weight gain can reduce as well as your PCOS symptoms. So whilst they're pushing each other up in this cycle, once we start working with them, each one can push the other one down. And then that is because we're improving hormone levels as well, because we're dealing with one of the root causes, and therefore we're enhancing your natural fertility. Now, everything I do, I always like to base on research. So here's some things that you might find interesting. A study published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism found that approximately 70% of women with PCOS exhibit some degree of insulin resistance. Even if they're not overweight, you've still got that resistance going on. And that is what plays a key role in the development of hyperandrogenism. Really getting my words stuck today. And that is how your ovulation and your fertility generally is disrupted. Now, there is also research in the New England Journal of Medicine, and that highlighted that women with PCOS often have elevated levels of luteinizing hormone, or LH, if you've seen it as an abbreviation in some books, and androgens. And they contribute to anovulation, which is where you're not actually ovulating, and therefore, obviously, infertility. So targeting those hormone imbalances can help to improve ovulation and your fertility outcomes. Now, we're not saying that we are dealing with the hormones. We're going to go in and tackle the root cause, but knowing that these elevated levels of luteinizing hormones can be a factor, we can then go in and tackle what is creating that underneath. Now, also looking at diet, there was a randomized control trial published in the American, I really can't speak today, you must excuse me. So there was this randomized trial which was published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, and that showed that a low glycemic index diet improves insulin sensitivity and menstrual regularity in women with PCOS, leading to a higher rate of natural ovulation and improved fertility. Now, please don't go out and do anything with your diet right now. We're going to do everything in a controlled way. If we just make massive changes, we can't monitor everything, but also it's too much for your body to cope with. That fertility bandwidth that we're talking about gets eaten up massively by this huge change that we're making. Everything needs to be drip fed, and we're going to do that in a systematic way. This is just background information for you. I'm not asking you to go out and do any of this stuff that's in the research right now, but this is just laying the foundation so that you know that when we get to things, there is science that's backing it, and it's been done for a credible, researched reason. Okay, so we're also talking about inflammation. So there's so many studies on this as well, but this is just one of them. There was a study in Human Reproduction showing that chronic low-grade inflammation is prevalent in women with PCOS, and that is linked to your increase in androgen levels and your insulin resistance. So an anti-inflammatory diet, for example, that's been shown to reduce inflammation markers, but we're really going to be working deep on tackling this inflammation because we talked about androgen levels earlier on. this underpins it, okay? We're talking about your insulin resistance. This inflammation underpins it. So we're going to be talking a lot about inflammation. And then also stress and PCOS. So just separately, stress is linked to inflammation. Okay, but there was this study in the Journal of Psychosomatic Research, managed to say that, which found that women with PCOS have higher levels of cortisol, which is, like the main stress hormone marker, and that therefore exacerbates your symptoms. So we're looking to reduce stress. So we can do things, and things that we might be looking at is to change our diet as we move through this. We might be incorporating regular exercise, but again, it has to be the right type of exercise, because we do the wrong thing, we're going to be pushing those markers up rather than taking them down, okay? And then we need to implement some stress reduction techniques. I'm not going to just leave you to go off and go and meditate and leave you to it. We need to learn to do that. And then also we're going to keep monitoring and adjusting, and that's what our one-to-ones are for the drop-in sessions as well. So we're going to be going through making sure that what we're doing with you is backed by science, and then we're tracking it to make sure that for you and your unique situation, it's working effectively, and we'll adapt as we move on. So now, I guess my little prescription for you at this point in time is to just recognize that connection in you and understand how PCOS impacts your body's insulin levels, your hormones, and your stress response. Now, I'm not expecting you to go out and get all of these tests done. That's not where we're going with this. But if you feel like doing it in your head, that's fine. If you feel like sitting down with a pad and paper, that's fine too. Whatever works for you. But just have a think about, for example, a time when you were exercising. How did that feel? How did your body change during that period? Did you lose any weight? Did you feel more energy? Did you have less of the physical symptoms within yourself? Or did they exacerbate? Or did nothing change? And what kind of exercise were you doing at that point, for example? And so then this is how you can start to understand how these things will affect you. Same with your diet as well. Same with stress levels. If you've been under a really big period of stress in your life, how has that affected you? And so track it back and just start thinking about what these things mean for you as a person and an individual. And then we can start to use that in conjunction with the questionnaires that you've done, so that everything's tying in really nicely together, and we're targeting real specific detail towards your current situation and moving you forward through that to improve fertility. Okay, so hopefully that will help you. Take a good couple of minutes to do that. You might want to think about it before you sit down with a pad and paper, or you might just want to do it in your head, but bring it to our meetings when we catch up, and we'll go through it then. All right, my love. I will see you later.